Good afternoon, Malaysia. From Jabatan Pertanian, Malaysia, we are in virtual agro-technology extension, and we are coming to the final speaker before we break out for lunch. And let me introduce the speaker. The company is PowerPlants from Australia, and they do 400 projects a year. And we Malaysians are so fortunate, even though COVID, but we can stay tuned in front of the laptop or the phone and we can still learn. This is the beauty. And since there were two postponements, the CEO of PowerPlants couldn't make it, Mr. Carl Van Loon. So the water division specialist and manager, Mr. Alistair McLean will be speaking. Let me touch a little bit about PowerPlants. And let's see, the CEO is Mr. Carl Van Loon. He manages company designs, new projects, visit customers. His father was a grower. Man, listen to this. His father was a grower. So he learned about plant propagation from an early age. Later, he studied engineering at RMIT, at horticulture at Melbourne University, Burnley campus, then founded PowerPlants in 1994. His vision was to build a company that would be the best designers and suppliers of greenhouse climate control systems. PowerPlant has since gone from strength to strength. And ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Mr. Carl Van Loon, we have a young, dynamic team from PowerPlants Australia, Mr. Alistair McLean, to take on the journey. Mr. Alistair, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you well, Ravi.
Hey, thank you so much. And we Malaysians are so fortunate and we are grateful to PowerPlants Australia for sharing your valuable experience for the last almost 30 years. And we would like to welcome you. Now, Mr. Alistair, the floor is yours. Please take on.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ravi, and for the warm introduction. And we're very excited to be attending this VAE Agrotech webinar 4.0. And so thank you very much for the invitation to do so. So today, what I wanted to share with you was our 10 steps for establishing a horticultural business when it comes to technology, and moving through these steps as opposed to just purchasing something at the very, very end, a very large greenhouse with lots of investment. We at PowerPlants specialize in helping growers take step by step through the process. So first I wanted to share a little bit about PowerPlants, as it's probably an unknown company to most of you. So our purpose is to revolutionize production horticulture by helping growers produce optimum yield and quality with minimal resources. And so our vision is to lead the way in Southeast Asia in providing the best technical solutions to local challenges in the production of food, medicinal, and nursery crops. And therefore, our mission is to achieve these goals by combining our extensive industry knowledge with the latest developments in horticultural projects and products and services to provide tailored solutions that allow customers to excel. And so with our 27 years of experience since Carl founded the company, working with growers, with wholesalers, with researchers and government authorities, PowerPlants has a proven history of advancing plant production and food sustainability. We're passionate about helping growers achieve their dreams. And so this is our team in our head office in Victoria, near Melbourne City. And we import a huge amount of equipment from different countries in the world, especially from Europe, as there's a lot of advancements in horticulture made with our partners in different locations, especially in Europe. And we also manufacture local solutions. So sometimes equipment coming from other countries might not be suitable for the Australian climate or the Southeast Asian climate. So we can be creative in manufacturing and building systems for customers when that's appropriate. And our current market coverage, this is where we have staff located across Oceania, and now we're venturing into an exciting new location in Malaysia with ABS Green Tech, with Ravi's company, to develop and deliver solutions to customers in your region. But most importantly, we have already a distributed network across Australia and New Zealand, and we're used to dealing with changes in time zone, with the tyranny of distance. From one side to Australia to the other is a similar size to one country to the opposite side of Europe. So even in Perth, we have representatives that are on the same time zone as Malaysia. And our parent company, PowerPlants, is part of a larger company owned by a parent company called PB Tech, who are based in the Netherlands. And PB Tech are globally renowned for very large and complex projects, and they specialize in the areas of greenhouse control, automatic irrigation systems, and electrical systems, which are also some of the core products that PowerPlants is also delivering. So our specialization, what we do, we specialize in greenhouse technology, which includes controlled environment solutions, fertigation and recycling systems, and labor-saving technologies. And our continual investment in global product research and development means that our solutions can fit any type of condition and be a suitable solution. Our people includes specialists from Europe and Australia and across the world for engineering, project delivery, installation, and technical support. And our overseas partners and suppliers provide us with a huge wealth of knowledge and experience that we can draw on to ensure we can provide the best solutions to customers for any given circumstance. We've got a dedicated team of hands-on specialists providing our customers with 24/7 service, and we value trust and integrity above all else by acting in the best interests of our customers at all times. And in terms of scale, we do projects ranging from 100 square meters all the way to 100,000 square meters. So we're not just interested in doing big 4-hectare projects with complex glass houses. Yes, that's exciting, but we also have done some much smaller projects, and we're happy to help growers along the way wherever they are to try and improve their productivity and their business and their wealth. So our customers produce vegetables, flowers, fruits, and medicinal crops. And as an average size, most of our projects are around 4,000 to 40,000 square meters. That's around 80% of what we do. So our location, well, we're here in Australia and also New Zealand. We're also in your time zone, in your region, and with collaboration with ABS Green Tech and Priva, who are also located in Southeast Asia. So the purpose of a presentation today is to say we're a technology company that can supply projects and technology, but our purpose as a company is not just to convince you that you need to buy a very, very expensive, a very large greenhouse with all the bells and whistles. For us as a company, what we're great at doing, and we do many projects every year with all sorts of customers with a range of technologies, is we identify where customers are at currently and what are their next steps. And then we try to move them forward by a step or a few steps at a time sometimes to ensure that their business can continue to improve and their crops they can grow continue to evolve and improve, leading to better quality, better yield, and better returns for the customers. And then when they have more profitable business, then they can look at taking another step again. And that's what we do. So we tried to organize these steps into 10 easy steps. And the step number 1 is for customers that are growing in soil. Then we can help deliver them fertigation systems for in-ground crops, which allows them to automate their business from a growing point of view, automatically inject liquid nutrients into the water as it goes out to the crop, providing fertilizer and the necessary nutrition that the crop needs in an automated way to ensure that the plants are always getting what they require. And that can have great benefits for the crop, taking some of the guesswork out. Also for the grower, who no longer needs to run around opening and closing valves and starting the fertilizer pump. But it also eliminates human error. And so by having these technologies automated, even an in-ground farm can have some great improvement and also irrigation from remote as well, using Priva products to bring them to the next step. So step number 2 is to move out of the ground and start to grow in a hydroponic way using substrate in bags or pots on the ground. And by doing this, we can optimize the moisture levels and nutrient availability in the media. And that allows us to, by having that control, we can now grow crops to their potential. Before, they could have been limited depending on what nutrients were available in the soil and what else was competing for that nutrient. Also, in the soil, there's a lot of chance that there can be disease that can inhibit our crops. So by moving into a substrate-based media, we can control the root environment, and we can really give the plant what it needs and when it needs it. We can also do this with very basic guttering systems that sit on the ground that can drain away any drain runoff, which is often part of growing in substrate. So step number 3 is to elevate our growing system to move to a system that has hanging gutters or gutters that are further off the ground. And that gives us a great advantage that we can now plant crops using substrate method, but also if the ground is a little bit undulating, then we're okay because the growing system is suspended or it can be designed so there's a slight tilt in the gutter, allowing the drain water to run away, and we can collect this, and later on we can reuse this. This also has a lot of benefits for airflow around the plants, and we see that whether it's gutters for a hydroponic-based system growing vine crops, or whether this is growing Asian veg or lettuce and these sorts of crops in gullies, this is still the same step for both these types of crops. So this can provide a lot of air movement around the crop, leading to reduced disease, but also a huge benefit is that this provides better ergonomics for our workers. And while that's better for them and it makes it easier for them to work, by doing so, bringing the crop to the people, then we can then allow the pickers and the workers to harvest our crop more efficiently and with less time. That helps our business and also helps their health. Because they're not bending over all the time and hurting their back. And we incorporate at this stage often wireless greenhouse sensors to detect the irrigation, the moisture content of our media, the EC content, and now we're starting to get feedback. We've already got our fertigation system from the previous steps, but now we can get feedback on how our irrigation scheduling is going based on what the plant is already doing. So the next step, step number 4, is to improve our greenhouse climate. And the way that we can do that, maybe we've already got a greenhouse, but we don't have really anything inside of it besides some plants, some fertigation. The next step here is to add some circulation fans to start moving the air, and also perhaps some automated roll-up walls, which will allow us to give better ventilation. And by doing these simple steps, we can dramatically improve the climate inside the greenhouse. And we know in the Southeast Asian climate, and especially in Malaysia, in lowland climates, then there is a high humidity. And so by moving the air around, we can increase the transpiration rate of the plants that might otherwise just be sort of sitting there in the hot, humid environment, but not really transpiring. And we can reduce issues related to fungal diseases and optimize the climate uniformity in the entire greenhouse rather than having hot spots and cold spots throughout. So once we have a greenhouse with a few pieces of equipment that allow us to better control the climate, then back to the fertigation. So this is a relatively new step. This wouldn't have been in a presentation a couple of years ago. It's a technology that Priva have released called the Moisture Balance Module, which can use either moisture sensors, but even better, a grow scale system, which has the ability to weigh the crop. And the benefit of weight is that by definition, 1 gram is 1 mil. And when we're able to weigh a section of the crop, then we can tell at any given moment during the day, what is the transpiration rate of that crop? How quickly is that crop absorbing the water and nutrients that we're giving it? And so what we do is we allow this growth scale system to wirelessly send the information back to our irrigation and climate computer, and the crop can irrigate itself. So this allows us to really give the optimal, depending on the conditions, they're changing all the time, the plant is absorbing less or more water and nutrients. By weighing the crop, this gives the direct feedback to the irrigation system on when the best time to irrigate the crop is. And that leads to another level of improvement in yield and quality, but also allows us to conserve our input costs such as water and fertilizer by only irrigating when we need. So now we're up to step 6, and this is a case where step 6 is a large investment. This might be that you leave your existing greenhouse as it is and you go to build a new greenhouse. And now that we know about the improvements that we can make, what we should really do is focus on building the best structure for the climate that we are. And that usually involves a taller structure. By having a taller structure, hot, humid air rises, and this can create a better growing environment lower down where the crop is. We should also put adequate roof ventilation in. When it comes to the plastic on the greenhouse, we want the roof plastic to go down into gutters so that the water is dripping into the gutters rather than dripping off the plastic to the crops. And we can start to look at even other structures that might be more applicable to the Southeast Asian climate, such as the Cravo retractable roof greenhouses that you can see a picture of, where the entire roof can retract. Because let's face it, in the Malaysian climate, most of the time we have beautiful sun, we have warm weather and good humidity for growing crops. So when we put a greenhouse over the top, we often trap a lot of that humidity. And so what the Cravo structures allow us to achieve is that we get to use the natural outdoor conditions most of the time, but only when it's too hot, it will come across to shade the crop. And then when it's monsoon season, it can cover the crop and protect it from the rain. So these are the kinds of steps that we need to take to make better improvement, a new greenhouse that fits our climate. So now step number 7, we've built a greenhouse that is more appropriate in terms of the technology that we are using. So now we can put some equipment inside of us that further helps optimize our yield. And things like shading screens that can automatically be deployed when the sun is too hot. Things like pad and fan systems, if it's more of a traditional style greenhouse, can give us a huge benefit by forcing air through the crop, really driving the transpiration, while also cooling the incoming air through a pad wall system that allows us to cool that air down to the right temperature for what our crops require. And now step number 8, we've got a great greenhouse, we've got a good fertigation system, we're using sensors to automatically irrigate our crops, they're getting the optimum amount of water. What else can we do? Well, this is where we start to look at our input costs. When we grow in substrate or hydroponically, we know that throughout the day, there will be drain water coming off. And while there's a lot less water used in hydroponic crops compared to in-ground crops, then we have an opportunity to actually capture that water and store it. And we also have a great opportunity to reuse this water because it still contains great fertilizer for our crops. However, there is also a risk. If we just reintroduce this water that contains a good fertilizer that we can still reuse, then if one plant in our greenhouse had root disease, then if that spread into the water and then we kept this in a tank with all our other drain water and then mix around and then reintroduce into the crop, then what can happen is that disease can then spread to the whole crop, which could lead to a crop loss or significant reduction in yield due to disease. So what we do here is we implement technology around disinfecting our drain water, which then allows us to safely reintroduce this water into the irrigation system. And the most common way of doing this with great results that have been proven globally is to use systems such as UV disinfection to do this. At this stage in our greenhouse, we also have an option to put in pipe and rail systems. So even if we're not going to use heating, we can still put in the heating pipes at a low level on support stands, and then we can use crop trolleys. Now, before we might have been using crop trolleys that have tires, but we have to steer these when we go. So By using these rails, we really can improve the efficiency. We can do crop work as the trolley is moving, using two hands, as you can see in the photo, at a significant height if required, so that we can improve our crop work and our ability to complete it, especially at taller heights when we're using larger greenhouses. And then step number 9. So we've really tackled a lot of the challenges that we have, but still the humidity is going to be a problem in the Malaysian climate. So we can implement technology such as dehumidifiers, and even something like a heating system, now that we already have the pipe and rails there for transport and crop work purposes. And it may seem strange to have a heating system, but a heating system really helps as a dehumidifier. When we heat air up, the hot, humid air rises, and if we have good ventilation and this escapes from the greenhouse, then we can control the climate better inside. And where I am located in South Australia, we get conditions often of 45 and 50 degrees, so even a lot hotter than Adelaide, than Malaysia. However, a lot of growers still have heating systems, because when the conditions at night time, we still need to get rid of the humidity. So we will still use the heating system at those times and other times throughout the year to provide dehumidification for the greenhouse. And the last step is to introduce artificial lighting. So as we know, most of the time we can probably produce the crops that we need, but there's always going to be an improvement in quality when the plants have sufficient lighting and in the correct spectrum. I think the other big aspect of this is that the weather is not the same the whole year round. So there are definitely periods of time throughout the year when we're producing less volume and probably less quality. And by implementing artificial lighting, we can maintain a consistent supply of high quality produce for our customers to the supply chains, so they can expect to get the same benefits of your produce all year round in the same quantities and qualities. And a point to note is that, of course, indoor growing, it's a very exciting aspect of the development of our food producing model. However, of course, we do need to use artificial lighting. So we're almost going to step 10 when we grow to in an indoor environment. And of course, the investment cost is also reflective of this. But I suppose the point is that there are a lot of steps for any grower, whether they start in ground or they're somewhere along this way, where there's technology that can be provided and support to improve their business and take another step in the right direction. And this just shows a couple of examples of the different customers of PowerPlants spread across Oceania, where we've helped them at very different stages. We can see in-ground growers here, people that are growing just in substrate have taken step 2, but still near the ground, all the way through to automated lettuce crops with benches that move around, and growing rooms with artificial lighting, and many different options and opportunities for improvement. So as you grow and as you improve your business, what an exciting time to be involved in the Malaysian agribusiness sector, because the improvements that I think we will see in Malaysia are already something that we've had to go through in other countries like Australia and New Zealand, and we're familiar with the steps and very happy to help support and encourage the transition to better methods of growing, better yields and quality, and overall profitability for customers in this market. And the last point to make is PowerPlants are an integrator of technology. So there are many companies that we are the dealers for and partners of, and really our role is to design projects around customers' requirements in the locations that they are, depending on what crops they want to grow. And that's really the exciting part about what we do, is to take the best technology from many different suppliers and to integrate this together for a completed project with the associated support services required to benefit customers and their growing. And that's the end of my presentation. So I'd just like to thank you again for the opportunity to present at this exciting webinar, and wish you all the best.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Alistair. Your 10 steps for optimum yield and quality was superb. And I love your tagline. Technology is what we do. Innovation is what we live for. And it's really great. And we are here at the Virtual Agro-Technology Extension 2021. And we just heard a wonderful sharing by Mr. Alistair McLean. And ladies and gentlemen, para peserta, all these participants and viewers, Department of Agriculture is creating one roof where everything is under one roof. Today we have listened to Priva, we have listened to the seed company Rigwan, and now PowerPlants. And listening to PowerPlants, they are doing almost like 400 projects a year. It's not one or two, 400 projects. Mr. Alistair, a question before we wrap up the session.
Yes,
what is your advice after you have done some research of Malaysia? What is your advice? You would have seen many people came into embarking on greenhouse technology, invest the money. What is your advice for the generation to come in Malaysia to embark on this journey? Personal advice from PowerPlants.
Sure. Well, I think the exciting thing is that in the past, that farming was something that was done. It was very hard work. It was very labor intensive. And I think what we see is that now there are opportunities to if we start at the beginning and figure out what our philosophy is for how we want to run these businesses. Now we can be a business owner that utilizes technology which is available to us that wasn't available to previous generations, and utilizes technology to create appropriate solutions, whether they're large or small greenhouses, whether they have complex needs or very basic needs, but to consult with companies and make sure that our mission and our purpose is aligned with where we want to go with our business and the technology that we can utilize along the way. And this can lead to much better profitability through increased yield and increased quality, rather than just copying what has already been done in the past, which has varying degrees of success. Integrating these modern technologies can really provide much better. In a smaller greenhouse, we can produce more crop, and I think that's really exciting. That these businesses can be so profitable and produce so much more with the available land that we have.
Beautiful. With a small greenhouse, you can produce more. That's a key message Malaysian growers can take. Yeah, and there is a question before we break out for lunch. Roselle, there is a Roselle planting, where through the Roselle they make. I heard some countries also has made from the Roselle seed they have made coffee. From the Roselle they have made cordial juice. The question is, this Roselle planting falls under which plant? Is it? That's a question. It's a very general question, I suppose.
Sure.
Mr. Alistair, yes.
I think if it's similar to coffee, then I think this would probably fit into something similar. I'll quickly share my screen here. Greenhouses are often made for in-ground crops, but these also include crops like cherries, which is what you can see in the video here. And this is showing that even for these types of crops, we can get great benefit by having earlier harvest and improved flowering and allowing us to grow at certain points in the season when other crops, people growing these crops, are not available by using these technologies. So I think that any crop, as long as it has a good value and return for the person who's growing it, we can use these technologies to create benefit for these customers, just by simply putting a certain type of structure over the top or utilizing certain fertigation techniques to improve their yields.
Wonderful. Wonderful, Mr. Alistair. And we Malaysians, we again thank you for PowerPlants. And for the viewers, kindly please visit the virtual exhibition booth and kindly go into the meeting room and find out more about PowerPlants and their last almost like 27 years, more than that, they are embarking on this technology. And listen again, the tagline is so beautiful from PowerPlants. Technology is what we do, innovation is what we live for. Marvelous. With the technology, we can create wonders. And for the viewers, please stay tuned. I have some announcement to be made. And for Mr. Alistair, I would like to thank you. And Malaysians do have our hospitality to welcome PowerPlants to Malaysia to grow the business so that the farmers can grow their business and live a prosperous life. And with the nature, the farmers' health can be taken care. Once again, thank you, Mr. Alistair. See you soon.
Thank you, Ravi. Much appreciated.
And for the viewers, I have some announcement to be made before we break for lunch. We have so far completed 2 from Netherlands. We had our first sharing session from Priva Horticulture, Mr. Manuel. We have done with our second speaker from also Netherlands, Rigwan, Mr. Friso Klopp. And you just finished, and we listened to Mr. Alistair McLean from PowerPlants. Don't forget, we have another 4 technology sharing in the afternoon. We'll start with 2:30. And this is from Netherlands, Corporate Biological. They already in Malaysia successfully done the project. And we would like to share the technology with you. Next, after corporate, will be how important is training. And we have one of the founder of World Horti Center, Lantis Group, to share with us today. And after that, from the East, South Korea, we have Tiny Sun, another invention and another technology for the agriculture. And finally, today from South Africa, another technology on water. How important is that? Ladies and gentlemen, we will meet you again at 2:30, but let's pray that our country, with you, with your very serious participation with us today, we can see the future of Malaysia. Malaysia can export. Not alone safe food, but also the food which is affordable for others, because we can produce more, the price can be reduced. So when price reduce, even a mediocre, poor people can afford to buy Malaysian produce. Once again, thank you so much for Jabatan Pertanian Malaysia for your wonderful organizing this wonderful event, AgroTech Virtual AgroTech Extension. And thanks to the service provider, ThinTech Group Sendirian Berhad. Your virtual live platform is doing very well. Thank you so much for the service provider, ThinTech Group Sendirian Berhad, and all the people who have joined us from morning. Yang Berhormat Datuk Sri Dr. Ronald Kiandi, our beloved Minister of Agriculture, who officiated, and then the 2 deputy ministers who are with us online, and also the text speech by Datuk Zahimi on behalf of Ketua Pengarah, Jabatan Pertanian, and ladies and gentlemen, all of you. Let's join hands together and build this nation back in agriculture. Malaysia's brand will go export market very, very soon. We are exporting, but very soon our brand will be well known, as like in handphone, Samsung, iPhone, as like in jeans, where is Levi's and Edwin. Definitely our rock melon, definitely our chili, definitely our fruits will be known as Malaysian tropical vegetables and fruits brand soon. With Jabatan Pertanian, Malaysia, it is possible. Let's work together. Government, agencies, private sector. Now we have technology provider. Let's join hand together and build back our brand. Ladies and gentlemen, see you at 2:30. Stay tuned. Virtual Agro Technology 2021. See you at 2:30. Thank you.